Dr. King, going forward, a greater level of tax compliance is vitally important. In fact, I used to tell Dr. Omar Davis that I am his best friend because I'm the only person who goes around town and publicly declare that people must pay their taxes. In fact, there's a bit of research that I would like CaPRI to undertake, and that is if we had, let's say, an 80% level of tax compliance from the 1980s and a 10% reduction in our oil import bill. I've been arguing that if those two conditions are obtained, our exchange rate would be about 30 to 1 today and not 90 to 1.
You know, I spoke about tax compliance, but you just didn't recognize it. It was actually all the way over on this side in the circle of tax reform. Because the way you get tax compliance, as much as, you know, as a nation we appreciate your personal efforts, the way you get tax compliance is not really by going around and encouraging people. It is by designing a tax code that makes it difficult to evade in the first place. And I'll give you an example. Just over a year ago, the government announced that it was raising the income tax threshold, doubling the income tax threshold, and taking thousands of persons out of the income tax net, and at the same time replacing that revenue by increasing the petrol tax by $8.75 per litre. Without even doing much checking, I can assure you that the compliance with the petrol tax is 100%. Because you can't avoid it. You can't evade it. You can avoid it by not transporting yourself anywhere or by not consuming any item which has ever been transported, but you cannot evade it. And so using that example, the route to higher compliance is by reforming the tax code in such a way that compliance is built into the way we collect taxes, the way we levy taxes.
Thank you. I want to give Dr. King another round of applause for his contribution this morning. I want to again recognize Dr. John Rapley, the president of the CaPRI. And I'd like to, I'd like to remind you that CaPRI's mandate is to be research-based, research-driven. And it works with a team of persons here in Jamaica as well as across the world, many Jamaicans included, who provide support and research expertise to CaPRI. I want to recognize some people here who have sort of in the CaPRI DNA. Imani, her brother Keith was here just earlier. That's Dan Thorburn around the back there, Keith Collister. These are people who volunteered in the early days to get this organization going. I want to recognize them. CaPRI's, thank you. We have a team of employees. I see Laurie here, and you want to just, everybody from CaPRI just want to stand for 2 seconds, right? Who work hard to make this event possible. Our job, it's basically, as you see, a volunteer as well as professional team of researchers, supporters who seek to provide information based on fact to help policy formulation in Jamaica and the Caribbean. CaPRI has done some interesting work. One of its significant pieces was actually a piece that we looked at the informal sector some years ago and predicted an outcome which was different from what the community expected, which helped government policy at a particularly important time. CaPRI has a number of other interesting projects in its plans, which will be unveiled in a couple of months. But I'll tell you about one in particular. The team has been looking at the issue of sovereignty in Jamaica. Have we ceded sovereignty to community leaders and enforcers? Do the communities within which these enforcers live really want this sort of leadership? And so Damien and his team in a couple of months' time will be unveiling the outcome of research in those communities. And from what I'm understanding, you'll be quite surprised at the responses that they have garnered from the communities and the scope of the influence of these leaders within the community. So look forward, and next time I hope to see you here. Again, I want to thank Damien for really bringing this whole economy and the debt into context. There are many in the room who had been arguing about the lead from the central bank in terms of interest rates, and there was a lot of discussions and argument, but I think the arguments were brought down to the numbers this morning. I really appreciate that, and appreciate the fact that really what Damien has been saying is that social services has been really kept in really tight check for many years. In fact, when you drive on your road and it has a pothole, remember that top one that he put there where the housekeeping looked good. That's your pothole. A very what you call your primary surplus was really quite impressive here in Jamaica. So this morning we got a real understanding of the game. As I said, it's one of the best I've ever heard, Damien. I will look forward to CaPRI coming forward again with its next presentation. Congrats to the team, and I want to thank each of you who took the time out to be with us this morning, and trust that at our next meeting the numbers will grow. But beyond this, while CaPRI does this, with the help of Canada, CEDA, and some private sector firms, is to ensure that we can drive the policies that will create the growth that Imani speaks of, and create that vision which has been articulated for Jamaica as a place to live, work, raise our families, do business. I don't know if I got it right, Christine, but that won't happen without this. And without this, we won't have the information to drive the right policy direction in government. So I want to thank you all, specifically Chris, for taking the time to come. We know that you being here means the Prime Minister is here. So, so I want to thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you all for coming. Thank you.